update on Korematsu, Mr. Hipser and Mr. Burnham. This is the famous Korematsu. It's been many years that it has taken us to get here.
I think 8 years is an understatement.
I think it is. I remember talking about it in 1993.
Yeah, I think I've been involved with this project for probably 12 years at this point.
Yeah.
So thank you for having us. I'm Marcus Hipser with HY Architects. Matt Burnham is here in the second row, not quite the first row. I have with me also Steve Lane, who is my architect out in the trailer on a constant basis. This is a quick update just to give you a sense of where we are. We bid the project back in March of 2013, and the contract duration is about 960 days, with the contract completion date still estimated, or still the contract completion date is going to be December 29th of this year. They have been at times ahead of schedule, and then they've lost a little ground, and we feel like they might be making up a little ground, but December 29th still feels like a good target date for them to be complete. The change order summary, at this point we have about 1.86% of approved change orders. At this stage in the game, we're about 75% complete, and that's a pretty good percentage rate at this point, given the fact that the entire project is just under $43 million. So overview of the project, I'm going to try and point, and forgive me for not pointing for the audience, but I'm going to point for Ms. Block, and so because I know you haven't seen this before, I'm going to use this link right over your head, so forgive me for doing this. So this is the new campus. We converted what used to be Castro Elementary School. This building here is the only original remaining building from Castro. We call that Building A. Building B is here. This is the gymnasium. The library here at this end, and then administration right up here at the front. This is what we call Building C. It is at points a 3-story classroom building built into the hillside. And then back here is Building D, which is the multi-purpose building with a performing arts classroom. This is set into the hillside, and so there are 3 distinct levels of the campus. The lower level is effectively a playground. The middle level is what we call the academic quad, and the upper level is we call it the upper quad, performing arts quad, in various terms we have for it, parking on both the upper level and the lower level. This is a bird's eye view. If you're flying by the campus, you can see here the green rooms, which we have. Some of the criteria for this project, where we were keeping the project through the EIR process, keeping the project as low or lower than any of the existing buildings that were on there before, trying to protect views and not encroach onto the park. Even though the park is district property, there was an arrangement and agreement to make sure that you're not impinging onto the park, which is currently there's a facilities used by the city. They have a small building there, and there's a softball field and a little top lot that all remains. So to give you a sense of where we are, as I mentioned, we're about 75% complete. Some buildings are further along than others. This is a view of Building A and the academic quad. These planters, these retaining walls here, they're actually planters. They sort of step this edge of the courtyard down. They are not just planters, but they're also treating rainwater. It's part of some of the sustainable features of the campus. As part of the green rooms, what they're doing is they're making sure that we're treating rainwater. We're also using that as a heat sink to keep the temperature, the constant temperature within the 2 larger buildings. But this particular feature is to control water runoff and hold some of the water on the campus as the rain comes down. This building is actually fairly far along. They're pulling cable right now. The walls are being painted. The ceilings are mostly in. All the buildings are generally watertight at this point, but this building is further along. Of course, it was an existing building, so you'd expect it to be. Building B, this is the library here. These outriggers here are actually supposed to hold, or will be holding, a screen. The idea behind the screen is it's somewhat unfortunate that the best view is out to the bay. If you stand in there right now, you look out, it's an unbelievable view that will be somewhat blocked by the screen. Putting in the screen is a control mechanism for heat and light gain. There's a tremendous amount of light coming in the western exposure at the end of the day, which is actually the old Portola. I can't call it the old Korematsu because there was no such thing. The old Portola, if you were ever in that library, it was an oven in there on the afternoon. So we This is the library right here. Beyond there, you see what's Building C. The lower level there is the dance and the fitness room, and then there's classrooms up above.
So that's exactly the same thing. It's the same library view.
It's a very similar, yes, very similar view. So this is the main end. This is the top side of Building B. This is the corner of the administration. This canopy leads you to the library. So you saw the sort of the other end of the library. This is the inside end of the library. The idea here is that this is a welcoming area into the library off the academic quad. And you see Building B beyond. Building C beyond. This is the two-story portion of Building C. At this point, this photo was taken about 2 weeks ago. At this point, all of the stucco is on, and they're starting to put sheetrock on inside the building. The D building, the multi-purpose building, it's the sheetrock's all in, the lights are going in, the windows are all in, it's watertight. We're walking around there today. You actually shouldn't be because it's filled with paint. So they are painting it right now. The great thing about this building is that we really tried to create, because we weren't able to build the School of Theater, the campus wasn't big enough, meaning the campus size wasn't big enough, and we're trying to keep the costs down as much as we could. We were able to make this multi-purpose space a real true multi-purpose. There is a performing arts classroom, which has practice rooms for music. It also has children's rooms, so it acts as a green room for performances with a large sliding door that takes you right from the performing arts classroom onto the stage, which is the back end of that building. And there is a view of the stage, you can see from inside. And with that, I am finished. Open to questions.
Huh? What?
This is your
Tell us
presentation.
how things are going. How things are going.
So I'm very excited to see all of this. Thank you very much for your presentation, sir. We've been in portables now for 5 years, and we're looking at 5+ years. So I'm excited to get into a real buildings. The performance space, we've been going to Ellsworth High School now for 5 years to do performances. We have an amazing band, as you all are probably well aware. So I'd like to just walk from my office to the multi-purpose room to watch the band play and watch the drama performance play. I think we would move on a Tuesday night. You would let us.
You're right there on Wednesday morning.
We would be there Wednesday morning. And we could use the gym. We've been without a gym for a long time, so
Right, that's right.
you know, it's been a long time. So we're excited. I'd love
So
to know when
what's
we
your
can do
move-in
it.
day? When's your move-in party?
Whenever I'm told I can move in. When is
Well,
my
when-
move-in day?
Here, when is it, Mr. Hipster?
The contract completion date is currently scheduled for December 29th of this year. Once the contract is complete, there are punch list items, so we go in and we make sure that, oh, you didn't paint this, you didn't paint that, and they have to fix things. That usually is about somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks, so now we're at the end of January. The district then has to move in furniture and set up all the equipment. There's a lot of work done to put in. To put in the furniture takes about 6 weeks, and then set up the computers takes about that much time. So I think we're really looking at a March, April move-in date. That seems to be realistic from my perspective. I don't know if Mr. Freeze or anyone else wants to comment on my perspective of that.
Probably Easter.
Easter break, spring break next year?
Seems like spring break's the right time.
You're really looking at the fall. Our target goal.
Your targeted goal is the, no.
That's popular.
That's not gonna be popular. Spring is gonna be more popular, isn't it?
We'll move in on Tuesday.
Tuesday spring break.
I just want a quick commentary. My daughter is at Hilltop, so I have a vested interest in this campus.
What year is she?
She's in 3rd grade.
Oh, okay.
Janet McKnight's class.
Oh, all right. Well, she's gonna make it. It's actually gonna happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of
exactly.
people wish you were in 5th grade at this point.
Yeah. I wanted to work the kinks out, so
Right,
I've
yeah, you
got a
get a
couple
lot of
years
time.
in there before she gets there. So.
That's right.
Well, this is right in my neighborhood. I go by it all the time. It looks great. You know, when you said it was up the hill, I don't really think of this as on a hill. Like, you know, we have some pretty steep hills around it. But I guess there is an incline that the school is housed on.
there's about a 70-foot grade change from top to bottom, although you
Really?
wouldn't believe it, if you,
Wow.
from street to street. It's actually a lot more grade change than you would anticipate.
Yeah.
Particularly coming from the old Portola campus where it seems so massive a hill. It was surprising even to me to realize how big a grade change there was.
Well, my son had speech in the old school, so I've been in the old, you know, the campus that you
Castro.
replaced. But, one question I had, and I'm usually, a big proponent of academics over sports, but where will you be doing your after-school sports, that are outdoor?
Well, I would assume we would be using the park, just similar to the way we use Cerrito Vista Park right now.
Okay.
The district owns that park, so that's
Yeah.
actually.
The city of El Cerrito is well aware that,
Yeah.
that we're gonna be using that, and they're still gonna have, you know, outside of school time, use of the park as they have in the past. We've used it for a number of things over the years, you know, the, El Cerrito High softball team plays softball.
Yes, they do.
there. And,
So will it be used by the El Cerrito baseball, youth baseball?
well, I think they play softball there.
Yeah, but they also play on El Cerrito, they do both.
Well,
We're,
they'll continue.
excuse me, we've heard that they're playing on moving their baseball